I am sitting in the lovely new 2023 Toyota Prius Prime, and in this video, we're going to check out the interior and see what kind of technology this plug-in hybrid offers, so buckle up. Let's go. It's impossible to ignore this car's beautiful styling. The new Prius looks so good. Seriously, it's just dripping with elegance, which is not something you could ever say about this nameplate before the 2023 redesign. Unfortunately, much of that good taste spills over to the interior. Gone is that wonky dashboard that was weird for no good reason, and they even got rid of some of that white trim that you could get in this car that kind of resembled a toilet seat. Now, of course, this is a mass-market, mainstream vehicle, so nothing inside is opulent, and of course, I think a few things could be a little bit sturdier, but overall, this is still a very nice cabin. We have attractively grained hard plastics, there's soft stuff on the door uppers, the climate control system is dead easy to use, see, and reach. Of course, the air vents are well designed as well, so why would I be pointing out air vents? Well, go check out my BMW i7 interior and tech video, because not every automaker knows how to design air vents, apparently. And of course, we have some red trim on both the dashboard and the seats to kind of liven things up. And of course, it mirrors the exterior paint color on this car, which is an optional hue called Supersonic Red that goes for $425. Moving our attention downward, there's a lot to talk about with this center console, and right up front you can see there's a decently sized storage tray, but there is more because this section actually lifts up and out, revealing yet more storage, and they've injection molded a hashtag in there, so hashtag hidden compartment. You can tag that on Twitter or something, whatever the kids are doing these days, and boast about all the drugs you're smuggling in your Prius. Anyway, we have a pair of cup holders, of course, that are more than up to the challenge of holding large beverages just like that. That is not going to go anywhere. Moving rearward, we have the shift lever that pops up from the console. Very easy to use, just like that, and of course, the park button is right behind the lever itself. Then here we have some other switches that are used for controlling the various drive modes. This rocker does that, so if you want to put it in sport mode, you just do that. Then we have two other switches here that control the powertrain mode, so I can put it in EV mode or hybrid or auto using these two buttons right here. Of course, we have a wireless charging slot, so your phone can stay fully juiced while you're driving. It slides in super easy, just like that. And then, of course, we do have additional storage underneath the center armrest, though it is rather small, though it'll still fit a wallet, charging cable, or the wrapper from breakfast. The Cliff Bar was pretty good. So in addition to the wireless charger I just mentioned, this car also has 6 USB Type-C ports. Getting this thing out of the way, we've got 2 at the front of the center console, 2 under the armrest, and then of course 2 at the back, servicing rear seat passengers. Now, this Prius Prime happens to be a mid-range XSE model, which means it comes standard with Softex, which is Toyota's branding for an artificial leather product. It is not, unfortunately, a Texas-based chain of ice cream parlors specializing in serving soft serve frozen dairy products, much to my chagrin, because ice cream sounds fantastic right now, even if they did offer like a barbecued short rib or something. That would be an interesting flavor. Anyway, Softex looks great in this car. It feels good too, and of course it is spiced up with some red accents, like I mentioned a few moments ago. As for the front seats in this car, they are very comfortable, and both of them, of course, are heated. I am sitting right now in an 8-way power adjustable chair. That includes lumbar, of course. Passengers, though, will have to make do with a 6-way manual seat. Now, when you're out and about in the new Prius, I've got to warn you, the sightlines to the back are not great. Those C-pillars for the roof are gigantic, and they really restrict your outward visibility. At least, though, in the XSE Premium model, that's the top shelf trim, you can optionally get a digital rear view mirror, which should really expand your visibility to the rear of this car. However, other models, you got to make do with a standard piece of glass, which should probably really be standard, the digital rear view mirror, as well as a much higher resolution backup camera, because if you throw this car in reverse, that's all you get. It's like a potato 20p resolution, something like that, and this is not competitive with a lot of other vehicles out there. Toyota should do a little better. Next up, displays. This car happens to have the optional $735 12.3-inch touchscreen that replaces the standard 8-inch panel, and I've got to say, this looks pretty fantastic. And the infotainment system that lives in here is extremely intuitive and responsive. The menu layout is simple, and of course, the performance is really very good. This is one of the snappier systems that I've experienced in cars today. Now, this also has Google points of interest, so you can find gas stations or restaurants, whatever stuff like that. Naturally, over-the-air software updates are supported. You can connect 2 different phones via Bluetooth to this system, which is always nice to have. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about here. A couple things, though, that I do want to point out. The volume knob is a bit of a reach over here on the passenger side of the dashboard. Of course, there is a toggle here on the steering wheel, but it's kind of an odd placement for that. Also, there is no physical tuning knob. So to handle any of those functions, you've got to dive into the infotainment system. And of course, this is also how you adjust various vehicle functions. You can see your trip information just like that. You can schedule your charging. Of course, that is not as important as with a pure electric vehicle, but it's still nice to have that option in a plug-in hybrid. And in typical Prius fashion, you can also see where the energy is flowing, where it's being generated, and how it's being used, which is always kind of cool to see. But of course, if you don't want to use Toyota's infotainment system, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are both standard in the Prius, and both of those smartphone mirroring systems will connect wirelessly. We also have a voice assistant that is both speedy and responsive. You can pull that up by hitting the search button here on the screen or the voice command button right on the steering wheel. Get me directions to Greasy Corner, Arkansas.
I found Greasy Corner. Would you like to go now?
Yes, please.
Calculating route to Greasy Corner.
It's a very hot tourist destination, I hear. Spring breakers. Very popular.
Route guidance. Turn right at the end of the road onto Pavilion Drive.
You get the idea. 11 hours, 38 minutes, 803 miles. You can pull up directions very easily. Or you can ask it stuff like, what's the weather in Munich, Bavaria this week? Give it a couple seconds.
Weather forecast for Munich, Bavaria.
You can see pretty nice, warm and sunny, except maybe Monday some thunderstorms could be blowing through. And then, of course, it'll also answer questions like, who was Kaiser Wilhelm II? And why was he named after dinner rolls?
According to en.wikipedia.org, the second SS Kaiser Wilhelm II, named for the German emperor, was a 19,361 gross register ton passenger ship built.
All right, close enough. You get the idea. The voice system, the digital assistant can be useful, can also apparently be wrong sometimes, but you get the point. It's there and it works pretty well. Now, aside from this main 12.3-inch display, we also have a 7-inch digital instrument cluster, and I have no problems with this panel itself, but the positioning, that causes a lot of problems. So I think Toyota was trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. So rather than having a separate digital instrument cluster mounted about here and then a head-up display farther forward on the dashboard, they just put this one screen sort of in the middle, which is kind of a good idea, except in practice, it's pretty terrible, because when I've got the steering column adjusted right where I want it, the rim of the wheel actually blocks most of that screen. I cannot see most of the display, which is not a good thing. I know it's not an issue for you right now. The camera is slightly off center, so you should be able to see all of that display. Of course, I can lower the steering wheel, the steering column all the way down to knee level and see all of the screen, but that's just not comfortable for long-term driving. And frankly, I'm kind of surprised nobody at Toyota saw this problem before the vehicle entered production, because it's kind of a huge oversight. But anyway, I think it's time for an awkward jump cut. Whoa, what just happened? How did I get back here through the magic of editing? Wow. Anyway, back seat of the Toyota Prius, it is something of a mixed bag. You can see I've got plenty of leg room here, but if I sit up straight, my head does hit the ceiling, so 6-footers may not be the most comfortable in the back seat of the Prius Prime. The backrest is also quite vertical, so if you do want to sort of recline, you gotta scoot your butt forward a little bit, just like that. Of course, we do have a fold-down armrest, which is great. And of course, we also have a 120-volt household outlet down here, which is great for charging your laptop, running an osterizer blender, powering a drill motor. I don't know what you do in your car. It's none of my business. But anyway, that is a very quick look at the interior and technology of the 2023 Toyota Prius Prime. I think this car looks fantastic. The interior is very nice, and this vehicle does offer some very good technology as well. So overall, it is hands down the best Prius of all time, no questions asked. It's also a car that is highly desirable, and not just because it's super fuel efficient, but because it is a genuinely great vehicle. Now check out my full review of the Prius Prime by clicking right over here. Is this plug-in hybrid as good as it looks? Well, you're going to have to watch to find out. But I suspect you've already got a pretty good idea. It's very good. It's a very, very good car.